Let's talk about past life for a moment. For those of you who believe in past life, you might be thinking, if I ever had a past life, it is over, it's in the past, and it's not going to affect me, right? Right? Wrong. My name is Antonio Sangio, and I practice and teach introspective hypnosis. The truth is that everything that happened to us in a past life is still affecting us in this life, every single time, almost all the time. Think about this. Our fears, our phobias, which have no explanation, our nightmares, our dreams. If you want to talk about karma, things that we carry from a past life, and karma is not punishment, it's the law of balance. Whatever we did in a past life, we're going to experience it in this one in the same or maybe a greater degree. The pattern that repeats in our life. What is it that I always find this kind of person in my life? What is it that why is it that I find this kind of situation in my life almost all the time? Those are lessons that we carry from the past. Now, think about this. Have you ever met somebody and you didn't even exchange a word with that person, and you said, I don't trust this person, I know I will not get along well with this person? Or maybe you met somebody and then just changed a couple of words, and you got the feeling that you knew that person, that you know this person from a long time, from ever, and that is no explanation. So a lot of the stuff that happens to us is because we carry those from past life. Why? Because we reincarnate in groups. We're like a spiritual classroom and reincarnate in groups. And this is planet, this is school. So we come here to learn. If you want to do an exercise, and if you have kids, ask one of your kids, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, ask him this question, even though it might not make sense to you. Ask to them, when you were a grown-up, what were you? Or what were you when you were an adult? You will be surprised with the answer that you get from them. What happened is that kids have those memories from past lives fresh, still fresh, and they fade away as we grow up. So if something happened to us in a past life, like, I don't know, a phobia, right? Like, for example, let's say I'm afraid of going to the beach for some reason. No explanation. I never had a situation where I was about to drown or any kind of incident with the water. However, when I go to the beach, I get very afraid. I get scared. Why? It is possible that in a past life, I might have had such event where I almost drowned, or maybe that is the way that I died. And people might be thinking, okay, so that is a past life, right? It's in the past, it's done. Why is it still affecting me? And the explanation is simple. Everything that happens to us in this life or previous lives is recorded in our subconscious. And the subconscious mind, for the subconscious mind, time does not exist. The subconscious mind is scanning every event that you're facing now, and it compares it with a past event from a previous life, and it makes you react in the same way, even though in this life that kind of reaction does not make sense. So what is it that we do with a past life regression, right? What we do is we put a person in a trance, and it is the subconscious that is going to take us to the origin of that fear, that phobia, that psychosomatic symptom, that stress, that relationship issue, and we're going to investigate, we're going to analyze that past life from a different standpoint and get a better understanding. Once we understand what happened, we do a couple of exercises, we work on it, and most of the time this symptom or phobia or relationship issue disappears. You leave the session with a better degree of understanding. Okay, so I know it might sound confusing, so I would like to explain to you this with a couple of examples. Okay, I'm going to show you this with a couple of graphics to see how this works. So here they are. Please pay attention to these two examples. Okay, so in order to explain why is it beneficial to have a past life regression, I decided to use two examples. Okay, so in example number one, we're going to look for the origin of a physical symptom. Okay, for this example, we're going to use Carlos. Okay, it's just an example. Let's assume that Carlos came for a session, and what motivated Carlos to have a past life regression was the fact that he's been experiencing pain in his shoulder for a very long time. Okay, he went to the doctors, had X-rays done, went to specialists. They were not able to find the cause of that pain. What's more, he was told that everything was normal. There was no reason for him to be experiencing that pain. It was even suggested to him that that pain was psychosomatic. So Carlos went online and started learning about past lives and these kind of sessions. So he said, okay, I have nothing to lose. Let me go ahead and try one of these past life regression sessions. Okay. For this example, we're going to assume that Carlos had already a few past lives. Okay. And I'm mentioning past life regression, even though past does not exist. And I'm going to explain these past lives in linear time again, even though linear time does not exist. But I will explain this later. Okay, so for this example, we're assuming that Carlos had a past life in Egypt. Then he also had a past life in Rome, 509 BC. He had a past life in France, 1789, past life in the US, 1861, another past life in the US, 1889, and at the current time he lives in Colombia, in South America. Okay, so after doing the interview, after doing the inductions, Carlos goes into a trance and looking for the origin of his pain in the shoulder, he goes back to a past life in France and starts describing about being in a battle and how he's fighting and then how he's wounded in the shoulder and he dies because of it. He had other wounds, but he basically died in that battle. And we mean his body died in that battle. So understanding this, okay, we can assume that Carlos had that pain in his shoulder or carry or somatize that pain in his shoulder in the live in the US, 1861. He also carried it in live in the US, 1889. And now, because since he has it now, we can only assume that he had it previously, right? In the other two past lives before the one in France. So once that Carlos understands that that one that belongs to a body that is not this current body, the pain is gone. It is removed. Okay. So people might be thinking, how is that possible? Why is it that visiting a past life can remove or eliminate pain that I'm feeling now? If it's in the past, it's already past. I mean, how is it that it's going to affect my present? Well, and this is the reason why I'm going to explain it in the next graphic. Okay, the correct representation of past lives is in this way. Remember, I said a few seconds ago that linear time does not exist. Past, present, and future do not exist. Past, present, and future is a representation of the human brain in order to understand time. But the truth is that past, present, and future all happen at the same time. So this is why all these lives that you see, or past life, if you want to call it that way, are happening at the same time. So if you take a look at this graphic, you will see Carlos in the middle and the past lives around it. So let's think about this as a computer network. Carlos is the server, is the main processing unit, the server, and the past lives are the computers. Anything that happens in a past life affects Carlos, and anything that Carlos does now affects a past life. So, knowing that, the fact that we understood that the problem was originated in France, and we healed that, or we removed that pain from that life, it affected not only Carlos, in this life, removing that pain, it also affected the other two lives in the US where we're assuming that he had that pain. Why? Because everything happens at the same time and because everything is connected. Everything that goes to Carlos affect everything in the past life affects Carlos, and everything that Carlos does now affects a past life. Everything is happening at the same time. Okay. Let's see this with another example. Okay. For this example, we're going to talk about relationship issues. You see this angry woman next to Carlos? That is Mary, is Carlos' sister. During the interview, Carlos mentioned that for some reason his sister hates him. Since he was a child, he remembers that his sister did not get along well with him. And even at this time, that when they're adults, he has a very hard time with her. He doesn't understand why she hates him so much. He has not done anything to him. So, looking for the origin of that relationship issue, Carlos goes back to the life, past life, even though we should not be calling it past life, goes to the life in the US. And he learns there that Mary was the mate, was his mate back then. He had a good economical position, but he was mistaken and I was abusing that power. So he was abusing this mate verbally and physically. Okay. So people are thinking, okay, that's in the past and it passed already. How is it that they came back together? And why is it that Mary hates Carlos? Well, there's something called karma, and karma is the law of balance. It's not a punishment, it's balance. Since Carlos made Mary experience that pain, frustration, or all that Mary went through because of him, because of the law of balance, is obviously, or it's we need to understand that it's Carlos' turn to experience that. Whatever you do to others, you will feel it yourself in the same or maybe greater intensity. Okay, so because of that, they came back together as brother and sister to work on this issue, work on forgiveness, work on this issue with love, understanding, affection. Okay, but why is it Mary? Why is Mary reacting that way? Because when we reincarnate, our memory is erased. We, at least at the conscious level, we don't remember, or in this case, Mary does not remember that Carlos used to be her master, or that Mary used to be his maid at the house. So the thing is that the subconscious knows, the subconscious remember and makes Mary react that way because at the subconscious level, she knows that had happened to her, but she doesn't understand why she hates him so much. Okay, so once Carlos comes out of this trance, understands what happened, um, we're going to assume that he went and apologized to Mary. Mary, I'm so sorry. This is what I learned. I didn't mean to do that to you. I understand that we're facing this situation now in this life, and this is why we need to work with this with love, affection, and forgiveness. I'm so sorry. Okay. Again, let's assume that everything is kind of okay after the session because of that understanding. So, with those two examples, I wanted to demonstrate or explain why is it that it's important to have a past life regression, especially if you're looking for the origin of psychosomatic symptoms or relationship issues. Because if you don't take action, if you know there's something wrong, something that doesn't make sense, like the pain that Carlos had, you don't take action, we can only assume that you're going to carry that pain in the next life. Or going back to the relationship issue with Carlos and Mary, if they don't take action in this life, guess what? It is possible that they're sent back together again until they work on this issue and forgive each other. Okay, so I hope this explains better the reason why it will be beneficial to have a past life, and it also explains better that past, present, and future do not exist. That everything happens at the same time, and it's also important to understand that when we come to this life, our memory is erased, and this is why we don't understand why different patterns repeat on our lives. Okay, so I hope that gives you a better idea of how this works. My name again is Antonio Sangio, and I practice and teach introspective hypnosis. You can go to my website, www.antoniosangio.com. Sangio is Sangio. That is all for now. Thank you.